Day one of Titans training camp just wrapped up, and I am here to guide you through it, skip some of the reading, and just listen to somebody talk about it. Don't expect that much. What's good, y'all? Welcome back to the Titans Rundown. I am your host, Mike McCamey, and in today's episode, we are going to be talking about football being back. I know, aren't you just so excited about it? I know I am. Like, for goodness sake, I was losing my mind in the summer, honestly. I don't know what I was doing. Like, I was trying to keep up with other things that like weren't really my thing, but I was trying to convince myself were my thing because of the lack of football and the lack of sports in general over the past couple of months. But now it is nice that I can just get back in the saddle, start talking about what's going on right now with the Tennessee Titans instead of trying to make up content during the offseason and feeling like I need to procrastinate because of the fact that there's not that much to talk about during the offseason in general. And with school around the corner, I really don't like saying that. This will be something fun to do after my school day is over. So anyway, let's get into today's episode. Let's first off, before we get into like what actually like the details of today, let's talk about overall what practice was like. Overall practice was kind of an intro day, right? Not that much really going on. And there are still some things worth mentioning, which we will talk about. But again, like I said in the intro, don't expect much, right? Like, it's not like Cam Ward had one of those days like he did in mini camp where he was just going absolutely insane, throwing deep balls, going 20 for 21. Like, don't expect that, especially this early. They're trying to get them back into the flow of things, and then maybe we'll start seeing some of those days. But for right now, just remember that, for now, just remember that this is an introduction day. Don't expect much. But anyway, let's start out with Cam Ward. Again, the thing that is probably going to get mentioned every time I'm breaking down training camp and games during the regular season. Like, Cam Ward is always going to be mentioned no matter what, right? Like, it would honestly be crime if I didn't mention him. And overall, he had a solid day. He was 12 of 17 on the day. Again, not really going deep or anything. He went deep once, and he just overthrew it slightly. Now, I know Vols fans are probably are watching this episode or listening to it over podcasting right now and are probably thinking, oh, we're screwed and, we're cooked and being really scared and everything. Because they had to watch, whoa, that was weird. Because they had watched Nico, Joe Milton over the past couple of years just kind of overthrow every ball that they threw. So I just want to clarify this. He was under a lot of pressure. He had a lot of, he had a defensive lineman and a cornerback coming after him. So just saying that, right? Like, if he has pressure, of course he's going to have a tendency to overthrow it. Actually, I think it's impressive that he overthrew it. But anyway, obviously that's not the main subject of this. The main subject of this is that Cam Ward had an overall solid day, but he actually went into the presser afterward and said that he was quote unquote mid. Now, obviously, I thought he was pretty solid overall on the day, especially especially for a guy that is just coming back after a couple of months off. Like, again, dumb example, but I started playing pickup basketball for the first time yesterday since April. To say the least, I was very rusty. I didn't really play that well, but that was okay. I got some decent in shape, or I got some decent running in, which tries to help me keep in shape. But anyway, so for him to come out there and have a pretty solid day, especially as a rookie, that is really nice. But I do want to hone in on the quote, and I want to mention something that's very important. That is the mentality we are looking for in the Tennessee Titans. It's obviously easy for me to say, sitting here in my bedroom and, only being in high school. It's easy for me to say, and not playing any sports. Like, it's easy for me to say that, Cam Ward had a solid day. He should be happy about that. But the truth is that I'm not a professional athlete. Heck, I don't even play sports in general. Like, I quit on sports during like late middle school, early high school, right? Like, if there's anybody that should be talking about mentality, it's somebody that's actually a pro athlete. But again, that is the mentality that we are looking for. Somebody that could take a day that most average people would be like, oh, yeah, that's a pretty solid day, and say, no, man, it's got to get better. I got to be better. I've got to continue to grow. Like, there is a lot of insight from that one quote whenever he's beating up on himself, because that's what all the greats do. They beat up on themselves and they continue to grind just to get better and better, right? Like, that is what we want to see out of Cam Ward. Like, man, I feel like if Will Levis had a day like this last year, you're like, oh yeah, I felt like I did pretty good, pretty solid day for me. And then, obviously he would probably get cooked because of it. But anyway, just overall a solid day for Cam Ward. Big highlight in the presser, speaking of Will Levis, talking about how Will Levis, he was asked about his injury and how he was going to be out for the season and like what he had to say about that. And basically he said, look, I don't give a crap. I feel bad for the guy, but I do not give a crap. Like, that is also something I think is very good, right? Like, he should not be caring about what happened to Will Levis, right? He should be caring about training camp right now, right? Like, obviously, again, he's not a monster, so he did say like he felt bad for the guy, but he still is just mainly focused on training camp. He was just like, man, I'm just focused on improving myself right now, which honestly is also a really solid response. So overall, good day for Cam Ward, especially from the press side of things. And yeah, that's really all I gotta say about Cam Ward. Anyway, moving on to a couple of other things that I saw that I felt like were worth mentioning in the Jim Wyatt article. Tajay Spears apparently was pretty impressive today, was making some nice cuts. He caught a screen out of the backfield. Apparently he had an overall solid day, which honestly, that's nice to see, just because of the fact that I do feel like he is better than Tony Pollard. It's just that he's been injury ridden and really just hasn't got an opportunity to show that. So I just hope that they can split carries this year and Tajay can really show what he's made of, kind of like how he did in his rookie season. And that's the version of Tajay that we've been waiting for. And I think that we will get it back this year. But that is a completely different conversation for a different episode. But anyway, another thing to note, do y'all remember David Martin Robinson, preseason darling of last year, that most people probably have forgotten about by now, just because like, oh, he's just some other random tight end, going to be depth, maybe a cut candidate for all we know, right? But something worth mentioning, he was great today. Apparently had the most targets out of any of the skill players, tight end and wide receiver included, and he had 4 catches on the day. Like, that's a very good sign for this guy. Like, again, I actually think that he could actually end up being really, really solid. It's just that we gotta let him get the opportunity. And honestly, man, this is going to be hard for me to say, but I would be completely fine with a universe where Chig and Josh Wiley end up not being Titans in a year or two from now, and that ends up leading to Gunnar Helm and DMR becoming the main tight ends and swapping in and out. Not too sure which one's the better blocker. We'd have to figure that out later. But maybe even we could get like a third string tight end that does that. But 2 really solid tight ends, I think they have the potential to be 2 starting caliber tight ends. I know that's an over exaggeration, especially in David Martin Robinson's case, but I just feel like I've seen a lot out of both of these guys. And yes, Gunnar Helm, he had a decent day as well, but he did have even though he did have a drop, like, I still feel like that he is looking pretty solid, honestly. And I want to see both of those guys get more playing time, because like, we know what's going to happen with Chig and Josh Wiley. Josh Wiley is, again, here's the thing, right? I think that the tight end room for the Tennessee Titans is potentially the best room on the entire roster for a reason, right? Like, it's not that he is not just still really, really stinking solid, right? It's not that. It's just that, or solid for a third stringer, but it's just that, like, we know what we're going to get out of him. He's just going to be kind of there. Not really going to get open all that much, and at best is a check down guy. And with Chig, again, he'll bring us explosive plays. He'll be fun, but he struggles where Josh Wiley actually thrives in the short game, being the easy check down, right? Ironically enough, I feel like that if you combined both of them, they would be an amazing tight end. But again, I would be completely fine if both of those two walked after their rookie contracts are up and we had a tight end group of DMR and Gunnar Helm together, splitting reps in the receiving game. That's just my personal opinion, but I would like to hear what y'all think about that. But anyway, obviously there was one standout of the week. I'm hoping to make this like a recurring thing where like there's one specific standout that I would like to mention every week. This week it was Jarvis Brownlee Jr. Obviously, y'all have probably heard all about that, the praise that he's gotten and all that type of stuff, right? But here's the thing, right? I was really happy to just hear about this, mostly just because it's like him, Roger McCreary, and I don't even know who the third cornerback is. But I'm starting to lose confidence that it's going to be Jarvis Brown. Sorry, not Jarvis Brownlee Jr. That's who we're talking about. I'm starting to lose confidence that it's going to be L'Jarius Sneed in week one. Not because of the fact that like people are saying, oh, he could be back soon. And again, that would be stupid. But it's more so because like I'm worried about the fact that he's just faking this injury right now and that he's not going to come back and he's just going to get his payday and then get out of Tennessee and then randomly be completely healed whenever he's out of Tennessee and go ball out for someone else, right? That's what I'm worried about. But even with that, we still have two dang solid cornerbacks in Jarvis Brownlee Jr. and Roger McCreary, and that's something that I can hold on to. So yeah, JBJ had 2 pass breakups on the day. He didn't let that much past him. Overall, just like a really solid day out of him. But he did barf. Like he just threw up in the middle of practice. I think that I don't know what that was. It could just be off season. It could be him being out of shape during the off season and then coming back and then like having to work that out. And if that is the case, then like he played good today already. Imagine how he's going to be playing whenever he's in full shape. Or it could have just been the fact that Treylon hit him at an awkward angle. And, sometimes whenever you get hit weirdly in sports, you just feel the tendency to barf. But again, just a really excited to hear about that guy. But anyway, I'm gonna go into this next little section. It's the Zarzor notes. Obviously, y'all know new voice of the Tennessee Titans, Taylor Zarzor. He has pretty solid so far. Specifically with the fact that he's let the fans ask him questions, which is of transparency that I am very welcome to. And obviously, we got to take these with a grain of salt, mostly just because, again, he's the voice of the Tennessee Titans. He's obviously going to be incredibly optimistic about this Titans team, but it does give some small insight into some things that could be happening. So, first off, okay, linebacker 2. This is whenever I finally mention it. James Williams is starting to look like he's going to end up being linebacker 2, which would make my prediction wrong, but don't completely discredit that because Cedric Gray is also still getting some reps. It's not like it's just James Williams out there at linebacker 2. And honestly, yeah, no, I think that'll just be a rotating between the two, honestly, now at least. And I think that will probably be for the best. And again, both of them I think would end up being pretty decent, at least for second year rookies drafted in late round or second year players drafted in late rounds. So again, completely fine with that. Dan Moore apparently has been looking pretty good because like everybody was asking about that. Like, oh, come on now, we're not hearing anything about him. Is he that bad or is he that good? Because again, like I think people can testify to this. There's such thing as good silence and there's such thing as bad silence. Whenever like bad silence is whenever nobody's talking about them because they don't want to talk about them, and then there's also good silence, which especially happens with offensive linemen where they have been so good that there's really not that much to talk about, right? And again, offensive linemen in general don't get talked about that much. So it's one of two sides. Which one is it? It seems like it's good silence. Again, take it with a grain of salt, but just the fact that he was all in on Dan Moore whenever he was asked about him. Like, he's an absolute beast. Cam Ward feels comfortable with him at his blind side. Like, all of this stuff, right? But again, we do need to take two things into account. One is the fact that he's probably not going up against the best pass rush in the entire world, but obviously that he is. That again, Zarzor is the only one that has really gone out of his way to talk about how good Dan Moore has been. So I'm hoping that somebody else clarifies that and also talks about, like, oh yeah, Dan Moore's been really solid during this offseason program. But anyway, just nice to hear about him. Alec Aomanor has been apparently really, really solid. He was asked about who the rookie he was most excited to watch, and he said Alec has been looking absolutely phenomenal. I've heard similar things from other Titans insiders. It's starting to become an overlapping thing, just that even though he's not good at the ladder drill, he has been really, really stinking solid, right? But again, take that with a grain of salt. But I am very excited to watch Alec Aomanor play this season. Like, I think he is going to be something special, honestly. I could see us looking back and being like, yeah, that was a steal right there. Now, obviously, I could be completely wrong, but just, my gosh, this dude, he looks pretty solid, and his stock is rising as the days go on. Cam Ward's helped him acclimate to the level a little bit faster than he probably should have, so that is something that we should be very happy about. Latham apparently looks really good at right tackle. We knew that was good silence, but like, especially considering the fact that literally day one of minicamp, Jim Wyatt right out the gate, Latham looks like the best offensive lineman on the line by far, right? Like, we knew that was, especially whenever you have somebody like Kevin Zeitler on the right side of the O-line, it's very easy for the right tackle, even being the probably more important position, to get overshadowed by somebody like a Zeitler, who has been a Pro Bowler. I think he's been an All-Pro too, and has just been like a really solid guard for the past couple of years. But again, Latham looking as good as he does, that is something that I think that we did not have doubt about, especially considering the fact that he put as much effort as he did into the offseason in his offseason, losing weight and whatnot. Apparently, Femi Oladejo got a lot of reps today, specifically because of the Lorenzo Carter thing. That kind of gave him a lot more reps, which honestly, I went with this as well whenever it came to what's his name? I can't believe I forgot his name. Cam Ward, right? Like, especially whenever it comes to Cam Ward, same thing goes for Femi. I need these guys to be getting as much reps as they possibly can. Like, I need Femi to be getting a lot of reps because of the fact that, well, Femi is just not really that developed. He's very raw. I mean, he is an edge that only played that position 1 year at UCLA, right? Like, he played edge for just 1 year, and he's just going to be really raw right at the gate. So get him as much experience as you possibly can. I like that. But anyway, probably the thing that I found most important, though, and it's the last thing that I'll mention, Corey Levin is getting the majority of the center reps. Just putting it out there. So that means probably not Jackson Slater this year. And that does make me think in my mind, maybe that does mean that Jackson Slater is meant to be the replacement for Kevin Zeitler once he either gets too old or or Jackson Slater is ready, right? Like, that's just how I see it. But Corey Levin's taking the majority of the center reps. I am very confident that he is going to at least be manageable until Lloyd Cushenberry gets back. And just overall, I actually have a little bit of confidence about this O-line. I don't know how it's going to translate on game day, but it is something interesting and worth noting. Oh, and also, I think that this offense in general has a pretty decent chance of being pretty solid now that Cali's finally got some decent players on the O-line and some decent young talent in the receiver core. Now, here's the thing, right? If Cali doesn't succeed this year, no excuse, he's out. Oh, hold on. One more thing I do want to mention. This is the last thing, and then I'll be done. Brian Callahan getting made fun of for the fact that he gave a little bit of an awkward hype-up speech, I think is absolutely ridiculous. Like, I've hinted at that over on my Twitter or X. Go follow at the Titans Rundown. But just overall, like, I felt like that it was weird, like, that we're making fun of him for this and being like, oh, that's why he won't last through the season. There are some really awkward head coaching personalities in the NFL right now that are still pretty good coaches. I mean, remember whenever we thought that, what's his name? The Cardinals head coach, the one that looks like Murph from Impractical Jokers. Y'all know who I'm talking about. Jonathan Gannon, right? Didn't everybody think that Jonathan Gannon was going to be a one and done? Look at him now. The Cardinals are actually expected to potentially make the playoffs this year. Like, has been a very solid head coach over there. Kyle Shanahan, for goodness sake. Like, I remember just trying to be like, okay, I don't want to mess this up in my mind because, again, it would look really dumb on my part if I wasn't remembering this correctly. Kyle Shanahan, like, I watched one of his like post-game victory speeches. Awkward. Really, really awkward. Like, again, I think that a head coach can get away with being awkward whenever and can get away with being a little awkward as long as they have some decent leaders in the coaching staff, which I feel like we do. Denard Wilson and Bill Callahan are obviously really strong leaders. And I'm not too sure about Nick Foles, but it would not surprise me if Nick Foles was also a really strong leader, just by hearing him talk. But anyway, and you can get away with that whenever you have really good players like Cam Ward and, really good leaders in players like Cam Ward and Big Jeff, right? So, like, I don't get the fuss about it. I think that he can still work out, even if he is a little awkward with stuff like that. And just overall, can we stop that, please? And can we stop acting like Callahan's going to get fired halfway through the season? He could get fired halfway through the season. I could see it 100%. But for goodness sake, can we not just like give him a chance at the very least? Like, I feel like there's definitely a portion of the fan base that just wants Callahan gone, and that's all that they care about. Literally nothing else. They don't want to be like, okay, maybe, give him a little bit of grace in year two. No, they just want him gone right now. And honestly, I see why, but just give him a chance for goodness sake. Again, now, if he were to, and I'm not saying that I would be just panicking if he ended up being a disaster next year. That's fine. Like, let's think about this, right? Like, Mike Borgonzi probably would be really solid whenever it comes to a head coach hiring process. Not only because of the fact that he was helping in hiring Andy Reid. I mean, obviously that was kind of a no-brainer, but that's beside the point. It's because of the fact that he has those intense connections around the league that he could score a pretty solid head coach if he played his cards right, okay? So I'm not worried about Callahan getting fired. I'm just saying give him a stinking chance. Anyway, that's it for me. That I have Instagram and Twitter under the Titans Rundown if y'all want to go check those out. But anyway, that's going to do it all for me. This has been a rundown of your Tennessee Titans. I love y'all, and tighten up.